Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's session for the Summer Learning Series. My name is Teresa Hoover, and I'm excited to be talking to you about Google Arts and Culture. So just a little background before we start. As I said, my name's Teresa. I'm a music education and technology integration specialist. I spent almost 20 years in the classroom, mostly teaching elementary and middle school band. Right now, I'm working on a PhD at Arizona State University in music learning and teaching. And in the fall, I'll be starting a faculty position teaching music education at East Carolina University. In addition to that, I'm a Google Certified Trainer, Google Certified Innovator, the co-author of the book Pass the Baton, Empowering All Music Students, and the author of Empowering Ensembles with Technology. So as you can see, I'm passionate about music, about technology, education, and all things Google. So we're here today to talk about Google Arts and Culture. If you're not familiar with this platform, it's an online platform with images, videos, artifacts from cultural organizations really all over the world. And what we're talking about is over 2,000 different sources, museums, galleries, archives, and things like that from over 80 countries. So it's really a very broad and wide-spanning resource. As teachers, there's a lot of reasons why we might want to use Google Arts and Culture. For one thing, it gives us access to these global resources. We talk about wanting our students to be global citizens, and now we're going to be able to show them more than what might just reside inside our classrooms. The resources give us a lot of opportunities for students to use critical thinking skills and inquiry, to ask questions, and to really think about what they're seeing and hearing. There's a lot of opportunities for cross-curricular connections, connecting the arts, music, dance, theater, to other subjects such as science, history, and literature. It also supports multiple learning styles and self-paced exploration. Since we're able to present students with resources that are video, image, and text-based, they can kind of choose for themselves which is going to be the best way to engage. And you also have the option to let students work through things at their own pace. So there's a lot of flexibility that comes along with using these resources. And finally, the things that are curated through Google Arts and Culture, we know are reliable. They have been carefully curated and carefully, found from these different sources so that we know that what we're showing our students is reliable information. So today in this session, I want to talk through how we can find some of these different resources that you might want to use in the classroom. And we'll talk through some different ways that you can use them. Specifically, we're going to be looking at collections, some of the virtual tours, themes, how to find various historical events and historical figures. There's some really fun interactive games. One of my favorites is the 360 videos. And finally, I'll show you how to find some lesson plans that have been carefully crafted just for teachers. To get to the Google Arts and Culture website, you'll go to artsandculture.google.com. And you'll be there on the homepage, and already you'll see so many of different things if you just scroll down and look at whatever's being featured at the moment. You could really just fall into a rabbit hole directly from the from the homepage. But instead of that, we're going to do a more specific search today. So let's go to the left-hand navigation, and I'm going to scroll down to collections. Now, collections are groups of artifacts or collections of artifacts that all come from one specific venue or location. So, for example, there's a collection from the Museum of Modern Art. Okay, there's a collection from the Van Gogh Museum, the Art Institute of Chicago, things like that. So lots of different venues here, and it'll show you all of the works and all of the artifacts that they have from that specific venue. I'm going to show you two today, but first to do that, let's see if we can find... I'll show you a couple of my favorites. So we're here in the R section, and we're going to scroll down, and you can see as I'm scrolling just how many things are here. And what we're looking for is, let's see, there it is, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Again, music teacher, right? Of course, this is where I go. So we're going to find the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And this is all of the different stuff that we can get here from this collection. So as I'm scrolling down, so you can see here a lot of different artifacts. These are mostly images. We continue to scroll. There are some stories, so like an online exhibit about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There are virtual visits, virtual tours where we can actually see what's inside the venue. And then a way to learn more about their actual website. So what we're going to do is start with this virtual tour. So I'm going to click here. And this is going to take us just like we're there. This is basically a street view version of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So at the moment, I'm scrolling around outside, but you'll see that we can also go inside the museum. So from here, we have a view of what's inside this museum. In this particular case, I can go up to the third floor, for example, and I can explore what's on the third floor. Okay, so you can see what's written there on the walls. We can see the timeline. We can move around just like that street view, but again, we're inside the actual venue, which is pretty cool. We can do the same on the fifth floor. Now, it's obviously not going to have everything from the museum, right? There's just going to be some bits and pieces, but it's still a really neat way just to see what this is all about. So if you were teaching students something about rock and roll or about Cleveland, any of that, they could get an idea of just how large a venue this is. So that's just one example of something that you'll find within a collection, right? Other things, so let's see if we click on one of these images, it's going to take us to the image, Chuck Berry and Axl Rose, 1994, right? And it gives us just a little blurb about Axl Rose inducted Elton John into the Rock and Roll and performed a duet with Bruce Springsteen. So you're just getting little bits of information, things that happened, and all of that. So again, this is just one example of a collection that you're going to find here in Google Arts and Culture. Now I'm going to come back. Now we'll show you one that is not music related. Obviously, you can see there's a lot of different options, but let's check out the Rice Museum of Rocks and Minerals. So we go here. Now we're learning about rocks and minerals, another collection. So you can see all of these different images here. As we scroll down, some stories, an online exhibit. This online exhibit is about Oregon's state rock. Let's go ahead and learn more. So when we get into the story, a story is basically going to be something that you can scroll through. It'll have a variety of different things between text, images, sometimes even video. So as we scroll down, you can see close-up images and be learning about that state rock, right? This is a great opportunity for students to move through something independently. They can take their time looking at the image, reading the text, and things like that. So those are just two collections that you can find here on the Google Arts and Culture website. There's really tons of them from all different places that you can imagine. So that is one way that you can search through this website. The next thing we're going to explore within Google Arts and Culture are themes. So again, we'll use the left-hand navigation to scroll down to themes. And a theme is a collection of artifacts that comes from a variety of different venues instead of a collection, which was just one venue. So all of the artifacts will revolve around a specific theme. And if you were to scroll down just here on this themes page, you'll see there's so many different options on a number of different subjects. We're going to do, again, just a more controlled search. So I'm going to do a Control F, and we are looking for Bob Marley. So there is a theme surrounding the life and the legacy of Bob Marley. So if you happen to be teaching students about reggae music, this could be appropriate. So as you scroll down through the theme, you'll see all kinds of different things. There's going to be, like some cases, images, videos that you can watch, more images. Let's see. So these are different things, adventures you can explore to learn more about various parts of his life. Just all kinds of different things. So just to give you an example, let's click on this one right here. The man behind the music. We can learn about his love for football. Click on that and it's going to bring you to a story all about Bob Marley's love for football. So again, you'll have this mix of images, text, videos, and things like that. Yeah, the one thing I will caution you, a lot of the videos sadly do have ads now. This didn't used to be the case, it does now. However, if this is something that you're worried about, if it's problematic, you can get the URL from the video and put it into Google Slides, and then that won't be a problem. You also have the ability up here in the upper right-hand corner to turn the audio off in case you're worried about the ads. That's, again, one thing that kind of disappoints me that's happened in the last maybe year or two that we didn't used to have to deal with on Google Arts and Culture, but such is life now. So again, these themes are really great for finding different things surrounding a specific topic. So let's go back to where we were before. So here we are back in the themes. Another kind of neat one that I'm going to show you, space exploration. I mean, this is just kind of incredible stuff here. So within the space exploration theme, you've got all kinds of artifacts that are surrounding space. The moon landing, the International Space Station, historic images. You can even do a street view version of the International Space Station. So we're looking at this 360 street view. So imagine putting this up in front of students and encouraging them to explore. And even if you maybe did it without telling them what it was, say, what do you think this is? Where are we? Like, what could this possibly be? And encouraging students just to notice, what do you see? What are you thinking? Before having a discussion about the space station. So this particular theme has nothing to do with art per se, but we're learning about the astronauts. Okay, you get to learn about historical figures. Okay, all kinds of different things that are found here within this one theme. So again, themes are found on that left-hand navigation, and there's just so many different things that you can explore that likely are going to have some connection to something that you're working on in class. So as I mentioned when we were looking through that last theme, historical figures is something that we can also find in Google Arts and Culture. So back to that left-hand navigation, scroll down, and you'll see historical events and historical figures. So let's start with events just to give you an idea of what you might see. You can look through all of them, sort A to Z, or even sort by time. So for now, we'll just kind of scroll through. Let's see. I'm going to show you Woodstock. Right. So when we get to Woodstock, we find out the dates of the event. We can read a little bit about it, what Woodstock was. And then when we come down here, you're going to see just, again, images as far as you can go. If I click on one of the images, it's going to tell me what I'm looking at, who the photographer was. Get just a little bit more detail about the actual piece, which is pretty neat. And it's also great for showing students the importance of attribution when we're looking at these images. This is who the photographer was. This is who the artist was. And we can see that this comes from the Life photo collection. If we go back, again, you can continue to scroll through and just see all kinds of different things related to Woodstock. So if I go back again, so here I am. Let's just take a look at the historic events by time so you can see what that looks like. So we can really see from, all the way from the year 500 and things from 800 BC. So as you scroll through the different time periods, it's going to show you what events that they have artifacts for. Okay. We also mentioned we have historical figures, just to show you again what that looks like. Once again, you can sort by all of them, A to Z, or by time. So if we were looking for a historical figure from the 1940s, we can click there. And here are some various things that are going to come up. Okay. So by clicking on the various people, let's go to Eisenhower. You'll learn a little bit more about them. Of course, this one doesn't appear to be in English. Go figure. And you can see there's some stories related to this historical figure. So lots of options on how you can search for things by event, by person, by theme, or as we mentioned before, by collection. Collection being those specific venues, specific locations. So while a lot of the things that we've looked at so far have been a bit more serious in nature, explorations into people and places and various things, there's also some stuff in Google Arts and Culture that is just plain fun. So to find that, we're going to use this play button here at the very top of your page. We're going to hit play, and that's going to take us to some of the fun games that you can find within the platform. So there's a whole variety of different games that you can play that, again, relate to something within art and culture, but they're much more playful in nature. So let's start with music. Some of the examples here that are a lot of fun: the National Gallery mixtape, where you're making a soundtrack inspired by various pieces of art. Viola the Bird is a lot of fun. With this one, I'll just give you a quick peek. You have an instrument kind of like a cello, and the idea is that as you move your mouse back and forth, the bird, viola, will play the instrument. So just watch. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to have kids experiment and just talk. If you're teaching string instruments, talk about what does the bow do? How does that work? And it's just something fun for them to play. So that's one example of a game. Let's get out of here. Going back to another fun one is the Botanic Atlas. So this one is looking specifically at plants. It's plant species from all over the world, 30,000 it says. So when we enter the Botanic Atlas, we can really just find different places in the world and different specimens of plants. As you click on them, it's going to tell you more about it, the common name, where it's found, and just all kinds of really neat information. So the Botanic Atlas can be great if you're studying either plants or if you're studying different elements of geography and you're studying different places in the world. What grows here? How have people used it historically? Things like that. So we'll exit that and go back to play one more time. We also have puzzle games, crosswords, coloring, trivia, adventure. So just to give you another example within the trivia, What Came First is a fun game where they're taking two cultural moments and you have to decide which one came first in time. So for example, it's showing two things from architecture. Which one opened first? This one in France or this one in the UK? I'm going to go France. Oh, but I was wrong. And it'll even say, if I click on the learn more, it'll tell us, oop, I must have clicked something wrong, but which came first, the Kennedy Space Center or Elton John? There we go. That one I got correct. Okay. So by scrolling down, that's how I can learn a little bit more about both when Elton John was born and when the Kennedy Space Center opened. So this could be a fun one to think about history. So we're talking both artistic and cultural events, but we're comparing it with when it happened in relationship to other things in history. So lots of different games. You can have a lot of fun in here. I don't know that I would necessarily recommend students just pick any game they want. I mean, they could, it's not going to hurt anything, but you might want to think about what's going to relate to what you're studying in class so that we can have some connection to what they're learning. As a musician, one of my favorite resources within Google Arts and Culture are the 360-degree videos. Now, the way that I found is the easiest way to search for these is to go up to the little magnifying glass, the search, and actually just type in 360 videos. And while it's a theme, this is the easiest way to get there. And all of these are videos that you can truly experience in 360. So I'll show you as we scroll down. Everything from specific architecture, venues, places, again, a lot of space videos, natural history, dinosaurs, and then, of course, a number of different arts things, such as Sydney Opera House, there's a Carnegie Hall 360, and one of my personal favorites is this one from West Side Story in Carnegie Hall. So we'll click here. I'm not going to play the video just to make sure that Casey doesn't get in trouble with copyright, but I'll kind of show you how it works. So from within the video, you can move. So if this was playing, you would hear it, we would see it, but we can also scroll around. We can see the audience. We can see the cast from this direction. We can just keep on moving, and you can see all different perspectives of what's happening in the space, not just a straight on view. So the 360 videos are really, really neat. And as I said, there's quite a lot of different ones that you can find. Fashion, around the world. So they're really worthwhile. Since these are videos, like I mentioned before, some of them might have ads. However, with any of these videos, you can always open them up in YouTube and then put that YouTube video into Google Slides. Once it's in Google Slides, you're not going to have the ads, but the 360 capabilities will still work. So that's just a really nice thing to think about. If you do find a video that you really like, but you keep getting an ad popping up, pull it out of Google Arts and Culture, put it into your Google Slides, and then it won't be a problem at all. But the 360 videos are a lot of fun, and it's just so neat to see these different things from different perspectives. So you might remember from the beginning of this presentation, I talked about lesson plans for teachers, and I was not making that up. We really have access to that within Google Arts and Culture. The easiest way that I found to get there, again, go to the magnifying glass, and we're just going to type in Learn with Google Arts and Culture, and it will bring us to a specific theme called Learn. And from here, we're into a collection of resources that are really for teachers, parents, guardians, things like that. Resources to use with kids. You'll first find a guide to Google Arts and Culture and some tips for teachers to get the most out of it. You can then search by subject if you would like to go that way. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to click right here on lesson plans and resources. So this is going to take us to these online and downloadable resources. And you'll see the index of different subjects that we can look through. Let's start here with science and technology, just so I can give you an idea. So these are the collection of different science and technology lesson plans that you can access for free. Scientific superheroes sounds fun to me, so we'll click, and it brings us to a 35-page PDF just for you. It starts off with a how to use this lesson plan, and it's saying it's recommended for students ages 7 to 11 years old. There's going to be 6 different chapters. It tells you each chapter and about how long it will take. And you'll notice throughout it, there's going to be just different icons. So things that you'll need to watch or read, digital time. So they do recommend that you have a tablet, computer, or smartphone. There's activities, online content, things like that. So each section starts off with what you need for that. So any materials. It's going to give you an introduction. What will you do? What will students learn? What will you be able to do? Any of the vocabulary words that are going to be involved. I mean, it's really pretty intense. Gives you some hints on how to use the resources within Google Arts and Culture, suggesting zooming in. And then we get to chapter 1. What's the chapter about? What am I going to do? How long is it going to take? So the chapter is about scientific superhero origins. They're going to discover secret history, figure out how new sciences and headlines inspired it, and then they're going to write a short story. So again, we're using these artifacts from Google Arts and Culture. We're using what we know about science, and then they're doing writing. So it's really pretty amazing what's included in this. And obviously, since you are the teacher and it's your class, you could always adapt these resources to fit the needs of your students. Click here. It's going to take you to something specific within the Google Arts and Culture website. This resource can be downloaded. It can be saved, all of that. So that's just one example of a lesson plan that you're going to find. Let's go back. Let's show you a music one or several music ones. We've got Beethoven, Gilberto Gil, A History of Electronic Music, Black Music Sets the Beat, Frédéric Chopin, Women in Music, right? So it kind of goes on and on with the different options you have. Let's go look at the inspirational Women in Music. So it starts with a great picture of Marin Alsop, and we scroll down, and again, tell you what you'll need. It's going to tell you what students are going to learn, the various activities, the outcomes, like everything that you would need for a lesson plan is here. The different vocabulary words that they're going to encounter throughout the lesson, what it's about, how long it will take. So you've got all of this stuff just packaged right here for you. And all of it uses resources from Google Arts and Culture. So I definitely recommend that you check out this section of the platform so that you can learn more. You'll notice that there are all kinds of different subjects, virtual field trips even. So a virtual field trip is when you're going somewhere and exploring a place using Street View. Mexico's Day of the Dead, going to the castle in England, like all kinds of different things. And again, these resources are been curated especially for teachers. So all of these different places within Google Arts and Culture are places that you could easily get lost. I've been trying to show you some specific places to go. So for example, our left-hand menu, we looked at the collections and themes. We also looked at historical events and historical figures, but there's so many other places that you could search. For that matter, you could even just go here, go to the magnifying glass and type in whatever an upcoming unit objective is. One of my favorites, another is just type in jazz, right? And when I go to jazz, I find there's topics, there's themes that all incorporate jazz. Here are the various collections that have something jazz related, the American Jazz Museum, some different stories, items. So you could simply type in 1 word, 2 words from what you're learning in class and search that way. We talked about, let's go back, Play. This is where you're going to go and find the fun games that you are here within Google Arts and Culture. Nearby, places that are close to you in your neighborhood, right? And favorites are anything that you have saved as a favorite. So there's so much to find just here in the website. Set a timer, give yourself 15 minutes to just fall down the rabbit hole and see where you end up. So I imagine by now your head is swirling with all kinds of different ideas and things that you could do as far as using Google Arts and Culture in your classroom. If you're still searching for ideas, the easiest thing, start with a virtual field trip. Find one of those street view expeditions where you can actually go into a place and look around. A virtual field trip that can go along with one of your lessons or units can be a really fun way for students to dive a little bit deeper into a place or event or group of people. You could choose one of the artifacts or exhibits to use as a hook for a lesson, having students write about or talk about what they notice and what they wonder, whether they're looking at an art piece or if they're scrolling through a story that has accompanying information. You could really have them dig in and use their imaginations. Consider putting together a curated list of artifacts for the students to explore on their own. And you might think about, how could I give them a variety of different things to think about those different learning styles, videos, images, text, all of that. How can students pick and choose what they want to engage with to learn more about a specific topic? And then think about how you can add an arts connection to whatever it is that you're teaching. Connecting to the arts is just another way to bring other elements into what we do. It can help with student interest. It can help just remind us that the world is so connected, that all of these subjects don't sit in silos in our real world, that we really do have a lot of connection. So there's some great ways to just kind of pull resources from Google Arts and Culture into what you're already doing. Some things to remind you about. As I mentioned before a couple times, videos sometimes do have ads now. So if you notice that a video you want to use has ads, you might want to pull that video out, put it into Google Slides so you don't have to worry about the ads. At a minimum, maybe just turn the audio off, right? At this point, I feel like we're all used to ads in YouTube, but it's something we might not want to have there for our students. The other thing to remember is just keep in mind that this is not necessarily Google Arts and Culture is not a Google for Education tool. It is a tool that is out there for everyone in the world. So therefore, everything is not curated with an 18 or under lens, right? So what that means is you might be searching through artworks and you might come across something that is not entirely school appropriate. We have all been to museums before where you see something and you know that the 13-year-olds are going to start snickering, right? Whether it's a piece of art or a sculpture that is not clothed, things like that. So just keep that in mind, that there could be things that students are left to explore on their own that come up that would not be considered school appropriate, even though it's art. So that's why I do recommend coming up with curated lists, curated things that you have found that you want students to engage with, allowing them to do a search on their own. You don't necessarily know what they're going to come up with. So just think about that. Now, when you think about the Learn section, those are resources that have been put together for teachers. So you can, trust that that's going to be an okay thing. So just keep that in mind as you're working through what you find. So really the next step for you is just explore. Whether that means typing in the search bar, whatever the topic is for your upcoming lesson, or looking for a specific country or artist or genre or something like that to go with what you're learning. You could dig into some of the themes, you could dig into collections, the historical figures or historical events. Or if none of that is what you were looking for, just go to the Learn section. Go to Learn with Google Arts and Culture and see if you can find some already created lesson plans that you'll be able to use with your students. But most of all, have fun, right? This is supposed to be something that's going to be an enjoyable, fun, and also meaningful addition to what you're already teaching the students. So do have fun with it. I think it's something that we can all really appreciate when we can see a connection to the arts and what we're doing. If you are a music teacher or if you have a music teacher bestie, I do have a resource that I want to share as a thank you for being here. It's just a lesson plan that I've created that connects music and one of the art exhibits within Google Arts and Culture, the paintings of Sergei Lifar. It's great for music teachers. It could also be great for a music teacher and an art teacher who might be doing a collaboration, right? So if you would like that resource along with a coupon code for the Pass the Baton shop, the bit.ly is right there on the screen. Make sure that you remember that bit.lys are case sensitive. You could also scan the QR code and you'll be able to get that. Again, this is going to be great for music teachers, or if you have a best friend who's a music teacher that you want to share this with, please feel free. So thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your summer to learn. I think as teachers, most of us are lifelong learners, but the fact that you're doing this on your summer vacation is really awesome and really inspiring. So I appreciate you being here. If you'd like to learn more about me and the things that I do, check out passthebatonbook.com. You can find out all about Pass the Baton, both the book and the podcast. There's info about that. Offthebeatenpathinmusic.com is my personal blog. A lot of it is like technology and music related. A lot of fun Google stuff in there. Feel free to reach out via email or connect on Instagram. I honestly love connecting with teachers, and I love just chatting about all things music, tech, education, dogs. You'll see a lot of pictures of my dog there. He's a frequent visitor on my Instagram, but I would love to connect. So thank you again for being here. Thank you to Casey for the opportunity to present, and I hope you all have a wonderful summer.